We're back with the nation and the three contenders for the Labour leadership, David Cunliffe, Grant Robertson and Shane Jones. Grant Robertson, I want to go to you now. You are the youngest of the contenders, but looking at your CV...
And the best looking, Sean.
That's a matter of opinion. Looking at your CV, you are very much an insider. There hasn't been a lot of life experience in what some might call the real world. How then do you expect to connect with Middle New Zealand?
Well, no, I reject that, Sean. I mean, I grew up down in Dunedin, which is a city that's been abandoned by this government, highest unemployment in 20 years down there. And I've been through my series of challenges in my life as well. What I think people in Middle New Zealand and right across New Zealand want is someone who's actually going to talk about the issues that matter to their family, and that is, are there jobs for their kids out there? What are the schools like? That's what people judge their politicians on, the ability to deliver some hope and some opportunity for New Zealand. And that's what I'll be judged on. As a politician, I move all around New Zealand. I talk to all kinds of different people. And if we're listening to New Zealanders' concerns and delivering on those, it doesn't matter what electorate I represent.
All right, can I ask you, what would you consider your greatest political victory?
For me?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, look, I mean, I'm very proud of the fact that we put in place the interest-free student loan scheme when I was working in Helen Clark's office. I think that delivered to New Zealanders more educational opportunity. In this term of government, this term of opposition, I drafted up the bill that's getting New Zealanders 11 public holidays every year. But when you get into government is when you can make the real differences in making sure that New Zealanders have jobs.
You haven't, as a politician, been in government, have you?
As a politician, I haven't, no, but I've got the experience, Sean, of working with Helen Clark to help build that government that I think we're all in the Labour Party very proud of. So working for Helen Clark is, in fact, what you would consider the high watermark of your political career? Oh, actually, the high watermark of my political career, Sean, is every single day when I help someone in my electorate office to get a job or to get into a house or to be able to get their kids' school operating the way they want it. At the moment, when you're an opposition MP, you're down there on the ground helping people. That's the high watermark. When we get into government, we get to do that for everybody, and that's what I want to do.
Thank you. Shane Jones, I want to talk to you about judgment. The judgment on how to use your ministerial credit card, and also the Bill Liu affair, which, despite the Auditor General's inquiry, still remains somewhat mysterious. Would you accept that in the past your judgment has been sometimes lacking?
Look, the greatest thing that I've achieved to date in my political career is surviving the boxing ring of mocks. Let's deal first with the issue that the media are not ever going to leave alone, the lapse of judgment in relation to my credit card. What's most important, I think, in the minds of Kiwis, yeah, sure, they get ho-ha with that, but whether or not can you stand up and take it on the chin. And you, of all people, Sean, saw that. Initially there was a few stumbles, so yeah, I've learnt,
okay, what about
I've learnt
the
in a way that
affair?
the most of Kiwis learn. Well, I'll deal with the Bill Liu affair.
Because it looked like you got conned, and at the end of the day, we were left with two contradictory statements, one from an official who said he didn't say something to you, and you saying he did.
Well, I'm not entirely sure, mate, what the official said, but I had the discretion to make that decision. I recorded what that official said, and I've given that as sworn evidence. I, however, have chosen not to pursue that official for what I believe was his lying, but the bottom line is that it's been through the Auditor General. The Auditor General did say I could improve on process, but the Auditor General found nothing that remotely approaches what that dilatory official said.
Mr Jones, one of your competitors here, David Cunliffe, advised you against the course of action which you took.
Oh, really?
Sean,
well, that's news to me.
No, Sean,
that's news to me. It was actually David, Taiho David. It was David first who let this rooster stay in Aotearoa. And if David is now saying he advised me,
well, you said keep digging, didn't you, David Cunliffe?
No, I was about to interject and to correct you, Sean. I did not advise Shane at all because I did not know that the case was on his desk. I made a different decision, which was to continue an investigation into the gentleman concerned I did not believe when the case was referred to me that there was enough evidence to meet an evidential threshold, but he was certainly under further investigation. The failure here, in my view, was a process failure between two different government departments, where Internal Affairs did not provide to my colleague, Mr Jones, the information which resided in the Immigration Service. That put him at a disadvantage, and I think that there has been a lot of reflection by the civil service on how that works.
So you back him on that?
In fact, I'm standing up for the fact that you weren't properly briefed, my friend. All
right. OK, we've got an agreement there. Let's talk about the one gentleman you've all brought up tonight, John Key. I want to know, David Cunliffe, what you think John Key's Achilles heel is. What's his weak point?
You know, I've known John Key since he was a backbench MP in Helensville, and we used to do the West Auckland Rotary Clubs together, so that's kind of useful. He's a lot funnier than I am, I'll be first to say that, but I think I can match him in terms of any policy debate, and I'm keen to take him on. And the thing that I really am passionate about is giving New Zealanders a fair chance, and I just watch this national government, for which he is responsible, trampling over civil liberties, eroding personal privacy and freedoms, widening the gaps, having an economy that's at best stuck in first gear.
Still,
and I
his
just want so much
remains
better for
amazingly
our people.
high, David Cunliffe.
Sorry, say again?
Still, he's a very popular Prime Minister, despite all that.
He has the best spin machine since Adam was a boy. And New Zealanders are going to get sick of spin. They want some more substance, and they're going to get it from a Labour Party that stands for real change. We are quite clear that they need the government on their side, working with them, not doing stuff to them.
Grant Robertson.
Sean, 54% of New Zealanders don't believe John Key. That's what the survey said the other day. To me, his Achilles heel is that New Zealanders are losing faith in him, that he's getting out of touch with their ordinary concerns that they have about whether there are jobs or not. If 153,000 people are unemployed, you've got the highest unemployment in Otago for 20 years. John Key's created a two-speed economy where his mates are getting rich and other people are struggling. The Achilles heel is there. It's that New Zealanders are falling out of love with John Key, and we need a leader in the Labour Party who's going to be able to exploit that.
Shane Jones, how would you beat John Key?
Well, there's a reason I called the Prime Minister a $50 million gorilla. This is a very wealthy and powerful man, backed by one of New Zealand's most wealthiest men from the Goodfellow family. So don't underestimate how vicious and clever they're going to be in framing Labour. The way to beat this guy is to win New Zealanders over. Sure, we can remind everyone that he doesn't tell the truth and that he lives in Parnell, but at the end of the day, the Labour brand has to be a waka that people naturally choose, and when they choose our waka, because we offer something that's demonstrably different from Key. Don't underestimate Key's charm to talk to New Zealanders in such a way he beguiles them. Sure, he is a teka merchant, as we say in Māori, but the way to deal with him is to win New Zealanders back to the Labour waka. OK,
so you would portray a positive message rather than a negative one?
Look, I think the average Kiwi expects an opposition politician to be negative. Every day in the House, in terms of question time, whether we like it or not, it's adversarial. But Kiwis, coming from Strugglers Gully, actually like that aspirational message. And we've got to claim that positive message, which is externally focused, as heartland Labour belief.
All right. I'd make the observation, guys, that you are all guys. And let's revisit something that caused some problems for David Shearer and the party, the so-called man ban, or gender equality preferential candidate selection is another way to describe it. You were absent, Grant Robertson, at the council meeting, or you had stepped out for a cup of tea when the decision to proceed with that was made?
That was the day that I was door-knocking in Upper Hutt to get people to vote for Meka Whaitiri in the Ikaroa-Rafti by-election, and I briefly attended the meeting when I would finish that door-knocking, so I wasn't there when that discussion took place, no.
Do you agree with the policy or the idea of the sentiment of it?
I certainly agree with the sentiment of having more women in Parliament, and I'm actually really proud that Labor has got around 42% women compared to National with 25%. I want to see that increase, and there are a number of different mechanisms that we can use to make sure that happens. The main thing is to be able to encourage and attract women to run for Parliament. All of us in politics have got a responsibility to make sure that that happens, and I'll certainly be doing that as Labor leader.
If the man ban came up again, would you support it?
Look, I think I support the decision that both the New Zealand Council has made and the caucus has made, that it was acting as a distraction, that particular mechanism. But I want to work right across our party to get more women into Parliament. And I think if all parties did that, it would be a much better place.
David Cunliffe, where are you on the man ban?
Yeah, really simply, really clearly, I'm committed to a binding target of 50% women by 2017. How we get there is a matter for the party, not a matter for the caucus leader. The man ban, the women-only shortlist, was not a particular mechanism that either was my preference or that of my local women's branch.
David Cunliffe.
Sorry, but I do believe that that's a matter. Sorry, Sean, it's a bit hard with the earpiece only going one way.
The party, though, say they do want a quota.
No, the party hasn't said that. The New Zealand Council has put that forward to the conference floor as one option among many. Look, I think at the end of the day, there's a recognition we're going to need some kind of affirmative action program, but the way I read it, even amongst the party's Women's Council, is that the women-only shortlist is by no means the preferred option of how to do that. So let's leave it to the conference floor. It's not a barrow I'm pushing, but I am very clear that I want to see 50% women's representation in the caucus.
Shane Jones?
I want to win. I've already had a meeting with the two reps from our Labor Party Women's Council. I put my hand up that some of my language was a little bit rich around this issue, but I do not agree with a policy that is a man ban. I do agree on merit that we should increase the percentage of women in Parliament through our party.
Shane Jones, one of your close allies, Damien O'Connor, of course, famously said the Labor Party was full of gays and self-interested unionists. Do you think it is?
No, the party's not full of gays and unionists. What the problem is only 34 of us, and there's not enough faces that actually average Kiwis feel that they can see us. And if anyone doubts that, then why is only 18% of all the New Zealand population with a right to vote voting Labor? So I definitely broaden the talent pool, but you shouldn't do that by declaring war on either the unionists or the gay community. But I would say this, probably the Labor Party at the moment's got a big enough rainbow. It's the pot at the end of the rainbow that Labor needs to win.
All right, this question to all of you, I'll start with Grant Robertson. Which Labor leader would you most like to emulate?
Norman Kirk is the person that I look to, Sean. I think he was a man who had a huge vision for New Zealand, but a practical touch to connect that vision to what New Zealanders were going through every day. He stood up on the world stage. He made New Zealanders proud, and I often think about what would have happened if he'd lived a bit longer. One thing I know for sure is that we would have had a superannuation scheme that could be investing in New Zealand companies right now with billions of dollars to create jobs for New Zealanders.
All right, David Cunliffe, who would you most like to be like?
No doubt about it, Michael Joseph Savage. And the reason for that is that we're at a point in history, like the end of the Great Depression, we're at the end of the Great Recession, and we need a new program, a new beginning, and this is the time for some real change. And just like Michael Joseph Savage tried to show a real love and compassion and work alongside all Kiwis from whatever walk of life, that's what I want to do too. Get down, be very real about people's needs for a decent roof over their head, a good job, food on the table, a school they can depend on, free healthcare when they need it. That's what Labor's basics are. Okay. Now, amongst getting a sense of pride taking us forward.
Who is it that you want to be like?
I'm similar to Grant in the sense I was there when Norman Kirk took the hand of that little mokopuna Māori at Waitangi. And that really is one of the enduring images I have of our party. So he was a practical guy, larger than life, and died well before his time, a fate I hope I don't suffer. But no, he'd be one of my major heroes.
Hope so too,
you know,
Shane.
the thing about Helen, she was into social provision and anti-discrimination. The Labor can no longer have that as its dominating brand.
All right, to all of you, is this the last roll of the dice? If you don't become leader, very quick answer. Will you stick around and be happy to be led by one of the other two, David Cunliffe?
Yes.
Shane Jones?
Oh, mate, I'm in to win. I haven't thought a single thing beyond the 3rd of September, which is my birthday, or the 15th of September, when we know who the rangatira is.
And Grant Robertson, will you stick around?
Absolutely committed to the Labor Party and Labor's values and getting them in place next year.
All right, and we will know in 2 weeks, gentlemen. I know you have got a busy day ahead of you, a busy 2 weeks ahead of you. I wish you well, good luck, and we will talk again, perhaps, before it's all over. Grant Robertson, Shane Jones and David Cunliffe there, the contenders for the Labor Party leadership.